The sun, a raw, indifferent eye, sears the vast, parched canvas of the desert. Here, at the border patrol station in the desert, the air shimmers with heat, a visible distortion above the cracked earth and skeletal Ocotillo. You stand at the edge of the perimeter fence, your boots stirring dust devils that dance a silent, frantic jig before dissolving into the hazy horizon. The metallic tang of rust and the faint, acrid scent of creosote bush cling to the air, a constant companion to your solitary vigil. Your uniform, once a crisp declaration of purpose, now hangs heavy, a shroud of faded khaki. The weight of it, the badge you no longer wear, presses down, a phantom ache beneath your ribs. You trace the scar above your left brow, a thin, white line etched by something sharper than memory, something that tasted of failure and public outcry. Years have passed since the roar of the city, since the cold gleam of fluorescent lights in interrogation rooms, since the name Marcus the Stranger carried the weight of justice, not just the echo of a fall. Now, only the relentless, unblinking desert witnesses your quiet exile. A low hum vibrates through the ground, growing into the distinct thrum of an approaching vehicle. A dark sedan, incongruous against the beige landscape, kicks up a plume of dust as it navigates the rutted track. It's not one of the usual patrol trucks, nor the supply drops. This car speaks of a different world, a different kind of authority. Your jaw tightens, a familiar tension coiling in your gut. You haven't had visitors of that sort in a long time. The tailored suit, the polished shoes, they are as out of place here as a snowdrift. The stranger carries an air of quiet command, his gaze sweeping over the station with an assessing precision that bypasses the mundane. He spots you, isolated by the fence, and begins his measured walk across the gravel. You don't move, not a muscle. You simply watch him approach, the sun glinting off his silver watch, a small, blinding flash in the vastness. His eyes, a cool, unwavering gray, meet yours. There's no surprise in them, only an expectation, as if he knew exactly where to find you. Marcus the stranger states, his voice smooth, carrying the low rumble of power. The words taste like ash. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touches the corners of the stranger's lips. I assure you, I do not. The precinct commander sends his regards. He believes you're unique. Insights are required. The precinct commander. The name hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken history. He was the one who signed the papers, the one who looked away as your reputation crumbled. The ghost of a bitter laugh catches in your throat. Required for what? One that has begun to thaw. A journalist. Brilliant, driven. You remember the name, I'm sure. Anya Sharma. The world narrows to a pinprick. Anya Sharma. The name is a brand, searing itself onto the fabric of your memory. The young investigative journalist, murdered in her own apartment, a case that had spiraled into chaos, accusations, and ultimately, your downfall. Dismissed as a random act of violence, a robbery gone wrong, yet something about it always gnawed at you, a loose thread you could never quite pull free before the case was sealed, your career along with it. That case is closed, you say, the words tight, each one a struggle. Solved. Random. The official verdict. The official verdict, the stranger echoes, a subtle emphasis on the first word. Tends to shift when new information surfaces. Information that points to a rather inconvenient connection to a man who currently seeks the highest office. A prominent politician. The words hang in the hot air, vibrating with a new, dangerous energy. This isn't just about Anya Sharma anymore. This is about something far larger, far more sinister. Perhaps, a desperate plea. He's offering you a chance to finish what you started. To clear your name. Your fists clench at your sides, the grit of the desert floor digging into your palms. Clear your name. The phrase is a siren song, a forgotten melody that resonates deep in your bones, but the cost. You remember the blank stares of the witnesses, the missing pieces of evidence, the suffocating pressure from above. It was a labyrinth designed to trap, and you had walked right into its heart. What makes him think I want it? You finally ask, the question hoarse, raw with a decade of suppressed fury and regret. The stranger simply looks at you, his gray eyes piercing, unwavering. Because the truth, Marcus, has a way of leaving a mark. The paper feels cool, alien, against your sun-warmed fingers. A private jet awaits you at dawn, if you choose to accept. The details are inside. The commander expects your answer by nightfall. He turns, his departure as unhurried and deliberate as his arrival. You look down at the folder in your hand. Its weight feels immense, a gateway to a past you tried to bury under miles of sand, a past now clawing its way back to the surface, demanding to be seen. The choice is yours, Marcus. Walk away and remain a ghost, or step back into the fire. The desert waits, holding its breath. You look down at the fine dust clinging to your boots, the desert floor a canvas of ancient sand and scattered stone. The phantom hum of the retreating sedan still vibrates in the air, a whisper against the vast silence. Anya Sharma. The name, a ghost from your past, a scar you thought long faded, now echoes with a sudden, sharp clarity. It's an invitation, a challenge flung across the desolate expanse, promising either a ruinous fall or a flicker of the absolution you've craved. The sun, a relentless eye, beats down on your head, blurring the edges of the horizon. You stand there, a lone figure carved against the immensity, the weight of a decade pressing down. To walk away means to condemn Anya Sharma to perpetual oblivion, to let the powerful remain untouched, to live forever with the gnawing uncertainty that has been your constant companion. To engage means to re-enter a world that broke you, to confront the very shadows that consumed your badge, your name, your peace. It's a choice, stark and unforgiving. The memory of her vibrant, defiant gaze from a faded photograph, an image seared into your mind, tips the scales. Not for redemption, not yet, but for answers, for Anya. You pull out the burner phone, its plastic cool against your palm. The contact number, given to you by the stranger, is a string of digits you dial with a resolve that feels both heavy and liberating. A low, gravelly voice answers on the second ring, devoid of greeting, simply awaiting your word. I'll take it, you state, the words raw, tearing through the quiet. There's a pause, a breath held across miles of wire. Good, the voice replies, a single syllable that carries the weight of an unspoken understanding. The files will be waiting. They expect you. The line goes dead, leaving you with the dial tone and the stark reality of your decision. The building, a squat concrete structure baked to a pale ochre, rises incongruously from the flatland, a beacon of officialdom in the middle of nowhere. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of stale coffee, disinfectant, and the faint metallic tang of paperwork. Fluorescent lights hum above, casting a harsh, unwavering glow on the utilitarian desks and the stern, weathered faces of the officers. You state your name to the ranking officer, a man whose uniform is perfectly pressed, his eyes scanning you with a practiced, dispassionate assessment. He gestures to a stack of boxes piled neatly in a secluded corner, away from the main operations. "Your packages, Marcus Thorne." His voice is flat, betraying no curiosity, only adherence to protocol. You approach the boxes, their cardboard edges crisp, marked with no identifying labels. They feel dense, heavy with the forgotten fragments of a life and a death. You pull the first box open, the tape tearing with a dry rasp, revealing a jumble of manila folders, plastic evidence bags, and spiral-bound notebooks. This is it. You carry the boxes to a small, empty interrogation room, its single table scarred with countless histories. The door clicks shut, sealing you in with the past. You begin to unpack, spreading the contents across the table. Photographs, Anya Sharma, alive, vibrant, then grim, clinical crime scene shots. Reports, forensic analyses, witness statements, police logs, all yellowed with age, brittle at the edges. Your fingers trace the contours of a grainy newspaper clipping, dated 10 years ago. Investigative journalist murdered in apparent robbery. The headline still stings. You remember the official narrative, the swift closure, the convenient dismissal. But now, with the distance of time and the knowledge of the stranger's visit, you search for discord. You find it first in a witness statement, a brief, almost overlooked detail. At the time, it was dismissed as an unrelated vehicle, a common sight. But the specific description, echoing the vehicle that brought the stranger to you just hours ago, prickles at the back of your neck. Coincidence or a signature? Then, a name in an old police report, buried deep in a list of potential contacts Anya had been investigating. A mid-level campaign manager for a then-rising state senator. The name, Elias Vance, leaps out at you. Vance. Now a key figure in the prominent politician's presidential campaign, his face plastered across news channels. The connection is faint, a spider silk thread, but it's there. Anya was looking into something, and Elias Vance was on her radar, even then. You pull out Anya's personal journal, its leather cover worn smooth. Her meticulous handwriting fills the pages, a testament to her dedication. You flip through, past entries about local corruption, zoning disputes, until you hit a series of pages marked with heavy underlines and circled phrases. Project Chimera. The words repeat, almost a mantra. Beneath them, a list of dates, locations, and cryptic abbreviations. One location stands out, the Foundry. An abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, long disused. Anya wasn't a random victim, he was a target. And the threads he was pulling, 10 years ago, are now woven into the fabric of a national campaign, held taut by hands you cannot yet see. The determination in your gut hardens, no longer a flicker, but a steady, burning flame. This is about a truth that has been buried, waiting for someone to dig. And you, Marcus Thorne, are now that someone. The desert floor still holds its secrets, vast and indifferent. You stand at the edge of the wash, where the earth yawns, a parched throat in the relentless sun. This is where they found her, Anya Sharma, a name that echoes like a gunshot in the hollow chambers of your memory. The wind, a phantom sculptor, has smoothed away the exact indentations, erased the precise footprint of violence, yet the air itself feels thin, stretched taut with unspoken history. You kneel, your fingers sifting through the coarse sand, a ritual of remembrance. This patch of ground, indistinguishable to the untrained eye, is a constellation of ghosts for you. The way the light fell, the angle of the shadow cast by the lone, stunted mesquite, details seared into your mind from that first, frantic investigation. You traced the ghost outline of her form, a hollow where life once pulsed with fierce purpose. The original case file, dusty and thin, had concluded with a clean, dismissive shrug, random violence, a tragic anomaly. You find the shift supervisor, a man whose face carries the permanent etch of a squint against the sun, his uniform crisp despite the grit that permeates everything here. He was a junior agent when Anya was found. Marcus Thorne, the shift supervisor states, his voice flat, devoid of surprise. His eyes, the color of faded denim, hold a weariness that goes beyond long shifts. Heard you were sniffing around again. Just revisiting old ground, you reply, your voice a low current against the hum. Anya Sharma. A flicker, quick as a desert snake, crosses his features. That case is closed, Thorne. Random. Tragic. Happens out here. He gestures vaguely towards the desert beyond the reinforced windows. People get lost. Things happen. She wasn't lost, you counter, the words precise, unyielding, he was looking for something. And she found it. The shift supervisor leans back, his chair creaking. Some things are best left buried, Marcus. Especially out here. The desert has a way of swallowing up anything you dig up, and taking the digger with it. His gaze holds yours, unblinking, a silent warning etched into the lines around his eyes. It's not just weariness, it's a practiced caution, a learned fear. You press on, ignoring the unspoken threat. The original report mentioned a small, smooth stone found near her body. Unusual for this terrain. He shrugs, a movement too casual. Just a rock. Kids sometimes leave things. Travelers. This one had an etching, you insist, remembering the detail, dismissed then as insignificant. A symbol. Small, almost invisible. He sighs, pushing a hand through his thinning hair. Look, Thorne. I got patrols to coordinate, traffic to monitor. I've told you everything I remember. And frankly, I don't remember much. It was a long time ago. He turns back to his screen, his posture a solid wall. The message is clear, the conversation is over. Leaving the station, the sun hits you like a physical blow. The shift supervisor's words, his evasiveness, ring in your ears. Some things are best left buried. It's a classic line, but delivered with an unnerving sincerity. You drive further into the desolation, back towards the crime scene, a compulsion urging your hands on the wheel. The memory of that small stone gnaws at you. Why had it been dismissed? Why did it feel so significant now? You return to the wash, the wind a constant companion, whipping sand into your face. You re-examine the ground with a new intensity, your gaze sharper, more focused. The original search had been thorough, but perhaps rushed, looking for obvious signs of struggle or a weapon. You are looking for something else now, a message. Hours pass, the sun arcing overhead, then beginning its slow descent. Your knees ache from kneeling, your eyes blur from scanning the endless, patterned sand. And then, a glint. Not the stone itself, but something under a cluster of jagged rocks, or a shallow depression in the earth would have offered a momentary refuge from the elements. A small, tarnished silver locket, barely larger than your thumb, half buried. It wasn't there during the initial search, you're certain. It must have been dislodged, or pushed deeper by the elements, only now resurfacing. Your fingers tremble slightly as you retrieve it. The silver is pitted, dull, but the intricate etching on its surface is still discernible. Not a heart, not a flower, but a complex, almost geometric symbol. It is the same symbol you remembered from the police report, the one you dismissed as a random doodle on the small, smooth stone. The stone itself is gone, lost to the shifting sands, but the locket remains, a silent testament. You pry it open. Inside, nestled against the faded velvet, is a tiny, meticulously folded piece of paper. You unfold it carefully, your breath held tight in your chest. The ink is faint, almost ghost-like, but the words are legible, they watch from the eye. The desert holds the key to the labyrinth. The eye. The labyrinth. Act 7. Anya had been close. Closer than anyone realized. The cryptic message, left behind like a breadcrumb trail in the wilderness, speaks volumes. It speaks of a hidden structure, a complex network, and a specific, coded location or person. This is a live wire, still humming with dangerous current. Someone powerful, someone with reach, wants this buried. And Anya, in her final moments, had defied them. The setting sun bleeds across the sky, painting the desert in hues of blood orange and bruised purple. You stand alone, the locket heavy in your palm, its secret now partially revealed. The landscape, once merely empty, now feels charged, alive with unseen eyes. You are no longer just revisiting the past, you are stepping into a trap laid long ago, one that still snaps shut with lethal force. The cryptic trio, the eye. The labyrinth. Act 7 burns behind your eyelids even when you blink. Anya's final whisper, etched into the margins of her last, unfinished report, now screams. You are back at your worn desk, the glow of the monitor a cold sun in the pre-dawn gloom, your fingers dancing across the keyboard, a predator scenting fresh blood in the digital wind. The eye, you murmur, your voice a rasp against the silence. You remember the stylized emblem, a single, unblinking iris, adorning the campaign materials of the front-running candidate, Senator Davies. Not just the official logo, but a more subtle, almost subliminal variant, appearing on the literature of a powerful super PAC, Vanguard Solutions, a group notorious for its opaque funding. You pull up their corporate filings, a spider web of holding companies and subsidiaries, each thread leading to another, a financial Gordian knot. Then, the labyrinth. The name clicks into place, a piece of a puzzle you hadn't realized you held. Its structure was legendary for its complexity, a deliberate maze designed to obscure ownership and operations. Ethel Corporation, a name that surfaces occasionally in the deepest dives of financial journalism, always linked to vast, quiet influence, never to scandal. You recall Anya's frustration, her inability to penetrate its inner sanctum, to prove its direct hand in anything illicit. But now, with Davies's campaign, with Vanguard Solutions, the threads begin to weave a tapestry of power and manipulation that stretches further than you'd ever imagined. A project? A location? An individual? It feels like a key, but the lock remains hidden. Hours bleed into each other. The air thickens with the scent of stale paper and ozone. Your phone vibrates, a low hum against the desk, and you pick it up, seeing an unfamiliar number. You let it ring, your gaze fixed on the screen, on the intricate diagram of Ethel Corp's subsidiaries that now blows before you. They know you are digging. The sun is a brutal hammer by the time you leave your apartment, the desert air already shimmering with heat. You need to verify some of these connections, to speak with an old contact, a retired analyst who used to track campaign finance for a watchdog group, now living out in the desolate expanse near the border. He's a recluse, a ghost, but his mind is still sharp as flint. The drive is long, a ribbon of asphalt unspooling through a landscape of scrub brush and distant, jagged mountains. You feel a prickle on the back of your neck, a subtle shift in the air, the kind of heightened awareness that saved your life more than once in your previous career. You check your rearview mirror. Your contact's ramshackle cabin is a few miles beyond it, a speck of defiance against the vast emptiness. The sedan follows, its presence now a dull throb of menace. This isn't a coincidence. They are here. They wouldn't make a move here. Not yet. You pass the station, your eyes scanning the faces of the agents, the parked vehicles. You push further, the road narrowing, becoming rougher. The mountains loom closer, their craggy faces indifferent witnesses. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupts in your rearview mirror. The sedan accelerates, its engine a sudden roar, closing the distance with terrifying speed. You instinctively swerve, your tires spitting gravel, as a metallic clang rings out, a bullet striking the rear quarter panel of your vehicle. The impact jolts you, sending a shudder through the chassis. This is no warning shot. This is an execution attempt. Your training kicks in, a primal surge of adrenaline sharpening your senses. You slam the accelerator, your old vehicle groaning in protest, the speedometer needle climbing. The sedan, a sleek, powerful machine, gains on you. Another shot rings out, the rear window spiderwebbing, a shard of glass slicing your cheek. The taste of your own blood, coppery and hot, fills your mouth. You see a narrow, almost invisible track. Veering off to the right, a dry wash snaking between two rocky outcrops. A desperate gamble. You yank the wheel, throwing the vehicle into a controlled skid, dust billowing in a choking cloud behind you. The sedan, caught off guard, overshoots the turn, its tires squealing, momentarily losing sight of you in the swirling grit. You careen down the wash, the suspension groaning, rocks hammering against the undercarriage. The path is barely wide enough, a treacherous passage. The dust begins to settle, revealing the empty stretch of road behind you. They're gone, for now. The metallic scent of gunpowder hangs in the air, mingling with the dust. You touch your cheek, your fingers coming away slick with blood. They know. They know you're close. Anya's death wasn't random. And you, Marcus Thorne, are now a target, a lone figure in the vast, unforgiving desert, standing on the precipice of a truth that could shatter the powerful, or bury you beneath its weight. The fight has just begun. The cryptic trio, the Eye. The Labyrinth. X7, burns behind your eyelids even when you blink. You are back at your worn desk, the glow of the monitor a cold sun in the pre-dawn gloom, your fingers dancing a frantic rhythm against the quiet hum of the machine. The digital archive, a sprawling, indifferent beast, yields its secrets begrudgingly, line by pixelated line. You hunt for anomalies, for the threads that unravel the neatly tied narrative of Anya's demise. Weeks bleed into months in these files, years into decades. You sift through incident reports from the period surrounding Anya's murder, cross-referencing names, dates, locations. The air in your small office grows heavy with the dust of forgotten cases, the ghosts of leads dismissed. Then, a flicker. A file you don't recall, bearing a classification code that pricks at the edges of your memory, Operation Chimera, classified close. It's dated just 2 days before Anya vanished. Your breath catches, a rough rasp in your throat. The document loads, a stark white against the monitor's black. It's a surveillance report, terse and official, detailing observations of an abandoned factory on the city's outskirts. The listed activity is vague, suspected illicit material transfer. The conclusion: no actionable intelligence. Operation closed. But beneath the sanitized summary, a raw data log unfolds. Timestamps, grainy photographs, vehicle descriptions. And there, a name. A signature. Detective Elias Vance. Your former partner. Your mentor, in those early days when the badge felt like a sacred trust. You scroll faster, your eyes devouring the details. But the distinctive dent on the rear bumper, the aftermarket rims, you know that car. You saw it, parked blocks from Anya's apartment, the morning her body was found. You dismissed it then, a fleeting detail in the chaos, easily explained away as a neighbor's vehicle. Vance's report noted it, too, but marked it as unrelated. Unrelated. How could it be unrelated? He would have known. He must have known. You relied on his assessment, his closing statement on Operation Chimera, allowing that sedan to slip from your grasp, to become just another ghost in the city's sprawl. He had vouched for the report's insignificance, and you, a rookie detective eager to prove himself, had accepted it without question. The betrayal isn't a sudden stab, it's a slow, insidious poison seeping into your bones. The realization tightens your chest, stealing the air. Vance, the man who taught you how to read the streets, how to trust your gut, had either been profoundly negligent or deliberately misleading. Both scenarios are unthinkable, yet undeniably true. The implication is a crushing weight: someone you held in high regard, someone you implicitly trusted, had either been compromised or was an active participant in burying a critical lead. Desert Hawk. It's a long shot, a desperate reach, but the coordinates listed in the report, though partial, point south, deep into the arid expanse. You need to verify, to confront the ghost of that dismissal, to understand why Vance would have allowed this to pass. The sun is a bruised peach in the eastern sky when your worn sedan eats up the highway miles. The city shrinks in your rearview mirror, replaced by the relentless, indifferent scrubland. The air conditioning strains against the rising heat, a futile protest against the desert's embrace. Hours blur into a monotonous hum of engine and wind. The landscape transforms, becoming starker, more unforgiving, the distant mountains shimmering like mirages. Barbed wire fences glint menacingly under the harsh light. Utility vehicles, caked in fine dust, sit idle in the gravel lot. The place hums with a quiet, watchful energy, a tension palpable even from a distance. You push through the heavy, reinforced door, stepping into the cool, sterile interior. The air smells of stale coffee and cleaning solvent. A uniformed agent, sharp-eyed and lean, looks up from a console, his gaze assessing. "Can I help you?" he asks, his voice flat, devoid of warmth. "I'm looking for Elias Vance," you state, your voice betraying none of the turmoil churning within you. Retired detective. He used to frequent this station, I believe. The agent's eyes narrow almost imperceptibly. Vance? He hasn't been around in years. Not since. Well, not since the big shakeup. He leans back, his fingers still hovering over the keyboard. What business do you have with him? Just following up on an old case, you reply, the lie tasting like ash. You scan the room, your eyes searching for any familiar face, any clue. The agent's hesitation, the way he almost said something more, confirms your suspicion. Vance's absence here is too deliberate, too carefully explained. The shake-up. What shake-up? Another piece of the puzzle, a jagged edge that doesn't quite fit, but confirms the deliberate obfuscation. Your trust, once a solid foundation, now crumbles into dust around your feet. The labyrinth deepens, and the eye that watched Anya, watched you too, from the shadow of a trusted hand. The agent, his uniform pressed to a sharp crease, offers a tight smile, a practiced mask. Just following up on an old case, you reply, the lie tasting like ash. Vance's absence here is too deliberate, too carefully explained. The lie echoes in the sterile hall as you turn, feigning a departure. The desert sun, a brutal orange eye, glares through the reinforced windows, painting stripes of harsh light across the polished linoleum. Your internal compass spins, sensing a hidden current beneath the surface calm. Vance, meticulous and by the book, would never just vanish from an active investigation without leaving a trace, without a word. His silence is a scream. You drift towards the rear of the facility, past a humming server room, its cold breath a stark contrast to the oppressive heat outside. The station is a concrete fortress against the elements, but its very architecture feels designed to conceal as much as to protect. Your gaze snags on a door, slightly ajar, leading into what appears to be a decommissioned storage area. Dust motes dance in the sliver of light escaping its threshold, a silent invitation. A quick glance over your shoulder confirms the agent is engrossed with a screen, his back to you. You slip through the opening, the door hissing shut behind you, plunging you into a cooler, quieter gloom. The air here is heavy, smelling of stale paper and forgotten electronics. Rows of metal shelving, laden with outdated equipment and archived boxes, loom like skeletal giants. This isn't just storage, it's a graveyard of information. Your fingers trace the spines of dusty binders, the plastic covers brittle with age. You move with the silent precision of a hunter, every sense alert. You are searching for the anomaly, the misplaced piece in a carefully constructed puzzle. Your eyes fall upon an old, stand-alone computer terminal tucked away in a corner, half hidden beneath a tarpaulin. Kneeling, you peel back the cover. The keyboard is caked with fine desert grit, but the power light, surprisingly, flickers green. Someone had used it recently. Or, more likely, had wanted to use it without leaving a digital footprint on the main network. This is it. This is where Vance would have looked. Or, perhaps, where he did look, before he vanished. You press the power button. The screen sputters to life, displaying a login prompt. Not the standard network login. This is local. Your mind races, cycling through common defaults, through the names of agents who might have been stationed here years ago. You try Vance first. Access denied. Then, almost on instinct, you type in the journalist's initials, followed by a birth year. Access granted. The desktop is sparse, a single folder icon glowing in the dim light. Project Oasis. Your breath catches. You click. Your heart thrums a frantic rhythm against your ribs. This is not just a lead, it's a direct conduit into the heart of the conspiracy. Your fingers fly across the keys, inputting the decryption key you'd painstakingly extracted from the journalist's personal effects, a sequence of seemingly random numbers hidden in a discarded draft. The files unlock with a soft whir. The screen floods with data, scanned documents, blurry photographs, audio transcripts, and a meticulously maintained spreadsheet. It's a ledger, detailing illicit financial transfers. The journalist's name appears, bolded, next to an entry marked exposure, neutralized. You scroll through the data, each line a fresh stab of betrayal. And the politician, the gleaming face of progress, was deeply, irrevocably entangled. A transcript flashes on the screen, a hushed conversation between the architect and a campaign manager. Their voices are calm, clinical, discussing the containment of the journalist's investigation, the mitigation of risk. The contempt in their tone for human life, for truth, for justice, makes your stomach churn. It's a living, breathing monster, its tendrils wrapped around the highest echelons of power. The original investigation, your own failure, had been deliberately sabotaged, twisted, buried. The shame that has clung to you for years begins to lift, replaced by a searing clarity. You weren't incompetent, you were outmaneuvered by an invisible enemy, an enemy now laid bare before you. You realize the immense danger you are in. This information, if revealed, would bring down an empire. They will come for you. But the choice is no longer yours to make. The truth, raw and undeniable, is here, humming on this dusty screen. It demands to be heard. Your reputation, your life, they are small prices to pay. A fierce resolve hardens in your chest, a fire ignited by the truth. You will not let them win. You will not let them bury this again. You will expose them, every last one. The commitment solidifies, an unbreakable vow forged in the quiet hum of the old terminal. You will see this through, no matter the cost. You begin to download the files, a digital sword drawn against a hidden enemy. The stark glow of the screen bleeds into the deepening twilight of your cramped apartment, each word a shard of glass in your mind. Influence peddling, siphoning, manipulation, the journalistic autopsy of a festering corruption. The network unfurls, vast and venomous, pulling threads from the highest echelons. You see the architect, the puppet master, not just in the abstract but in the chilling precision of the journalist's final, unfinished report. This wasn't a random act. It was a surgical strike. A distant wail, thin at first, then blossoming into a siren's full-throated shriek, tears through the fragile peace. It's not just one. Others join, a chorus of urgency converging on your block. Your breath hitches. They know. They always know. The digital breadcrumbs you've scattered, the subtle inquiries, the very hum of your laptop connecting to the hidden servers, it has all been a beacon. Your fingers fly across the keyboard, a frantic dance of deletion, wiping the slate clean. No time for forensics, no time for meticulous extraction. Just a primal urge to erase your presence. You snatch the worn leather journal from the desk, a relic from the journalist's effects, now a lifeline. Its pages, once a cryptic jumble, now whisper secrets, especially the faint, almost invisible annotations along the margins. A coded sequence, previously dismissed as idle scribbles, now burns with a new significance. It points to a location, a rendezvous, a crossing point. The desert. Laptop abandoned, phone crushed beneath your heel, you grab only the essentials, the journal, a hidden blade, a handful of cash. The stairwell is a blur of concrete and echoing footsteps. The sirens are closer now, a predatory snarl at your heels. You commandeer a nondescript vehicle, a forgotten sedan humming quietly at the curb, and point its nose south. The city lights recede in the rearview mirror, replaced by the vast, indifferent canvas of the highway. Hours blur into a feverish trance of driving, your eyes scanning the horizon, the rearview, the desolate stretches of road. Paranoia is a constant companion, a phantom passenger in the seat beside you. The landscape shifts, subtly at first, then dramatically. Concrete gives way to scrub brush, distant mountains rise like jagged teeth against the bruised sky. The air grows thin, dry, carrying the scent of dust and distant mesquite. The journalist hadn't just reported on the conspiracy, they had been actively trying to expose a specific facet of it, a crucial node operating out of the desolate expanse. The sun, a fiery orb, climbs higher, beating down on the cracked asphalt. Your throat is parched, your muscles screaming for rest, but the urgency is a relentless prod. The journal, clutched tight, holds the key. It's a manifest code, a reference to a clandestine shipment, and a specific date, today. It implicates a border patrol agent by a call sign, a name you recognize from the digital data, a name linked to the outer ring of the conspiracy. This agent, a facilitator, is moving something critical through this very station. This isn't just a checkpoint, it's a nexus, a choke point for the operation. You can't just drive through, you're a fugitive, a disgraced former detective. You need a different approach. The plan forms, raw and desperate. You'll approach on foot, under the guise of a stranded traveler, or perhaps, use the faded remnants of your old authority. The risk is immense, but the information in your hand, the journalist's final, silent plea, demands it. A dust devil dances across the horizon, a swirling column of grit and air, mimicking the chaos in your mind. You observe the station through a pair of battered binoculars from the glove compartment. The usual patrol vehicles, the stern faces of the agents moving with a practiced rhythm. But then, you spot it, an unmarked black SUV, not standard issue, its tinted windows reflecting the harsh light. It pulls up to a side entrance, and a figure emerges, clad in civilian clothes, but moving with the disciplined gait of a trained operative. The figure exchanges a brief, almost imperceptible nod with one of the uniformed border patrol agents before disappearing inside. Your grip tightens on the journal. Their presence here, at this desolate outpost, confirms your worst fears. This isn't just a smuggling route, it's a vital artery for the conspiracy, and the facilitator is at its heart. The journalist wasn't just investigating, they were trying to expose a direct link, a betrayal from within the very system meant to protect the border. The truth, sharper than any blade, cuts through the desert air. You must act, and quickly. He had a system, a fail-safe. You recall a casual comment, a throwaway line about off-grid backups, etched onto a crumpled coaster from a forgotten diner. The memory, a whisper from the past, guides your fingers to a specific, obscure server address. The login prompt stares back, a silent challenge. You try the usual, the obvious, then the deeply personal. A shared joke, a private code word only the two of you knew, a word woven from the fabric of a forgotten evening, now resurrected by necessity. The lock clicks open in the digital ether. Encrypted files, a labyrinth of shell companies, offshore accounts meticulously detailed. The journalist's final, desperate act, a series of coded messages, leading to a single, unassailable ledger. This isn't mere speculation, it is the skeletal framework of an empire built on deceit. The ledger names names, dates, transactions. It charts the flow of illicit funds from a vast, shadowy syndicate, the very organization the journalist had been tracking, directly into the coffers of the prominent politician's presidential campaign. But the politician, you realize with a jolt that vibrates through your bones, is merely a puppet. The true orchestrator, the architect of this grand deception, stands revealed in the final, unredacted entries. A figure whose wealth and influence are so immense, his name rarely surfaces in public discourse, yet his grip on power is absolute. The files paint him as the silent financier, the unseen hand guiding the politician's ascent, poised to wield unprecedented control should his chosen pawn reach the highest office. The motive for the journalist's murder crystallizes, stark and brutal. Her final act of defiance, hidden within these files, is an audio recording. Her voice, clear and resonant, emerges from the static, a ghost speaking from beyond the grave. She lays bare the entire conspiracy, the financier's ultimate goal, his methods of coercion, and the exact moment she knew her life was forfeit. Her last words are a plea, a trust placed solely in you, Marcus, to finish what she started. The proof is undeniable, enough to shatter careers, dismantle empires, and expose the rot at the heart of the system. But releasing it blindly would be suicide, a mere blip quickly erased by the financier's immense power. He controls the narrative, the media, the very institutions meant to uphold justice. You are walking into a trap, a meticulously laid snare. Each step you take towards the precipice is a conscious choice. But the truth, once glimpsed, demands its full unveiling. This isn't just about redemption, it's about justice, finally served. You send an anonymous tip, a fraction of the data, to a rival news outlet, hinting at a much larger truth, but withholding the crucial names and the full scope of the recording. A calculated risk. You know they monitor such channels, their network of informants vast and hungry. It's a fishing lure, dipped into a shark tank. The bait, just enough to confirm your possession of the whole truth, not enough to expose it prematurely. The response will be swift, decisive. They will come for you. You know the syndicate operates on these fringes, their influence seeping into forgotten corners. It's a place where few questions are asked, where the sand swallows secrets whole. You pack light, the encrypted drive, a worn pistol, a single flask. The drive from the city is long, the asphalt ribbon unspooling under a sky bleeding from bruised purple to inky black. The city lights diminish to a distant shimmer, then vanish entirely, leaving you alone with the vast, indifferent expanse of the desert. The road narrows, gravel crunching under your tires. This is it. The final act. You have the undeniable proof, the smoking gun. Now, you must deliver it, even if it means delivering yourself into the jaws of the beast. A perfect stage for a confrontation, for a final, desperate gamble. You cut the engine. You are here. They will be too. The desert breathes a slow, hot sigh around you, a vast, indifferent canvas of ochre and rust. Your tires crunch on the loose gravel, each rotation a drumbeat against the silence. The air, thick with the scent of creosote and dust, clings to your skin, a dry shroud. It is not the bustling hub of official activity you once knew, but a skeletal structure, its windows dark eyes watching your approach. This is where the threads converge, Marcus. This is where the labyrinth ends, or perhaps, where it truly begins to unravel. The screen's stark. Words from your apartment still burn behind your eyes: influence peddling, siphoning, manipulation. The journalist had found this place, hadn't they? They had seen the rot festering beneath the veneer of legitimate operations. You cut the engine. The sudden quiet is deafening, broken only by the distant, mournful cry of a coyote. Each breath is shallow, measured. The air itself feels charged, electric with unspoken threats. The interior air is stale, heavy with the scent of old paper and something metallic, something vaguely antiseptic, yet foul. But then, a sliver of light from a partially open door down a corridor beckons, a siren's call in the gloom. You move with a hunter's stealth, each step deliberate, your senses heightened. The murmur of voices grows clearer, coalescing into distinct tones as you near the light. The asset is secured. No further complications. The voice is smooth, cultivated, yet with an edge of steel you recognize from hushed political rallies. The politician. Another voice, deeper, resonant with an undeniable authority, replies. Good. The less attention drawn to this particular hub, the better. We've managed to keep the journalists. Unfortunate demise. Attributed to an isolated incident. This is it. The nexus. The truth. You push the door open, not with a bang, but with a steady, unyielding force that makes it swing inward, revealing the scene. Inside, a makeshift command center hums with low-level technology. Maps cover one wall, crisscrossed with lines, marked with cryptic symbols. And flanking them, two burly enforcers, their hands already moving towards concealed weapons. Marcus Thorne, the mastermind says, his voice the deep, resonant one you heard, now tinged with a predatory amusement. He is impeccably dressed, even in this desolate place, his eyes sharp, assessing. A ghost from the past. How? Inconvenient. You step fully into the room, your gaze sweeping over them, settling on the mastermind. I've just found the missing piece. The politician's composure cracks. What is this? You anticipate it, sidestepping the brute's clumsy grab, your hand already on your weapon. The other enforcer draws a blade, its edge glinting in the stark light. Stop, the mastermind commands, his voice cutting through the rising tension, and the enforcers freeze, though their eyes remain locked on you. Let him speak. Let us hear what grand revelations the disgraced detective has conjured. His smile is thin, humorless. You hold their gaze, your own unwavering. The journalist wasn't killed by a random street thug. They were investigating this network. Not just the siphoning of funds, the influence peddling, the manipulation of resources for your campaign, politician. They were investigating this very station. You gesture around the room, the maps, the humming equipment. It's a conduit. A hub for illicit crossings, for moving assets. Under the guise of official operations. A ghost pipeline, enriching your coffers, funding your ascent. The politician's face pales, his eyes darting between you and the mastermind. The journalist found evidence of it. They knew about the falsified reports, the missing manifests, the ghost convoys. They knew this operation was being run right under the nose of the public, protected by the very authority it mimicked. They were going to blow the whistle on your asterisk entire enterprise, not just the politician's campaign.
A bold accusation, Thorn. And one you cannot prove.
Oh, I can, you counter, pulling a small, encrypted data chip from your pocket, holding it aloft.
The journalist's final transmission.
A dead man's switch activated the moment their heart stopped beating.
It detailed everything.
The routes, the names, the bank accounts, the politician's complicity in turning a blind eye, in benefiting from the siphon funds and the political leverage gained.
To make an example. To ensure this clandestine operation continued unimpeded. The air crackles.
The enforcers shift, their
muscles tensing.
The politician looks utterly defeated, his political mask shattered. You thought you were untouchable, you continue, the words flowing with a righteous fury that has been building for years. But the truth, like a desert wind, finds every crack, every crevice.
A dead man's switch, you say? And where, pray tell, is this information now?
It's already out, you lie, a gamble, but a necessary one, your fingers tightening around the chip.
It went live the moment I walked through that door, a pre-programmed release. The world is watching, gentlemen.
The mastermind's gaze flickers to the politician, then back to you, a calculating fury in their eyes.
The enforcers, no longer waiting for a command, surge forward, weapons drawn. This time, there will be no more talking. The desert night outside holds its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash.
The enforcers, a wall of grim intent, surge forward. Your reflexes, honed by years of instinct and the ghost of a past failure, ignite. You move, not with the reckless abandon of youth, but with the calculated precision of a predator who has stalked this particular prey for too long.
The first enforcer crumples, a surprised groan escaping them as they hit the concrete floor.
The politician, momentarily stunned by the sudden eruption, lunges for a console, fingers scrabbling for a hidden switch. But you are faster, your hand a vice around their wrist, twisting, forcing them back. Even as the others fall, overwhelmed by the unexpected ferocity of your defense and the sudden arrival of a tactical unit, silent figures materializing from the desert night, their presence a testament to meticulous planning, the mastermind pivots. A hidden panel slides open with a whisper of hydraulics, revealing a narrow passage into the earth. A final, chilling glance, a promise of future reckoning in their eyes, and then they are gone, swallowed by the subterranean darkness. The politician, now cuffed and kneeling, their face a mask of furious disbelief, is led away by a uniformed officer. The enforcers, neutralized and disarmed, lie prone or are being secured. The adrenaline, a roaring tide moments ago, begins its slow, insidious ebb, leaving behind a profound weariness that settles deep in your bones. The air still hums with residual tension, a phantom echo of the conflict. A colleague approaches, their gaze steady, a silent acknowledgement passing between you. They hand you a small, encrypted data chip, recovered from the politician's hidden compartment, a final, damning piece of the puzzle. This details the financial conduits, the colleague states, their voice low, and the shell corporations. It links the missing funds directly to the campaign, and beyond, to the wider network. This, then, is the reveal, irrefutable proof, not just of a single murder, but of a vast, intricate web of corruption that reached into the highest echelons. The journalist's sacrifice, once dismissed, now screams its truth from these lines of code. More vehicles arrive, their sirens muted, their flashing lights strobing against the distant desert horizon. These are not just the local authorities, the weight of the arriving federal agents, the legal teams, the media representatives who will soon descend like vultures, is palpable. The story, your story, is breaking. Already, the low murmur of communication devices indicates the world is waking up to the scandal. News tickers, flickering across the screens of the tactical units' laptops, begin to hint at the tremors. Prominent politician detained in desert raid, one reads. The carefully constructed facade of power, the illusion of unimpeachable authority, is crumbling. You walk to the station's large, reinforced window, gazing out at the vast, indifferent expanse of the desert. The redemption you sought, the justice for the journalist, feels less like a triumphant roar and more like a quiet, aching sigh. The cost of this truth, you realize, is not just the years of your life spent in exile, but the deep gouges left by. Every confrontation, every betrayal, every calculated risk. The ghost of the past failure, the murder that defined your downfall, finally recedes, replaced by the stark, present reality. The politician is caught, the network exposed, but the mastermind, a phantom in the desert night, still breathes. The victory feels incomplete, a taste of ash on your tongue. The sun climbs higher, washing the desert in an unforgiving glare. The fight for justice, has only just begun. The cold, smooth chip rests heavy in your palm, a digital shard of truth. Its surface, polished obsidian, reflects the faint glow of the distant city, a world you've just irrevocably shaken. This sliver of silicon holds the whispered confessions, the clandestine ledgers, the coded directives that spun the grand illusion. This is not merely evidence, it is the reverberation of a fallen empire. Your journey to the designated drop point is a silent prayer, each mile a tightening knot of tension in your gut. The desert wind, a relentless sculptor, carves at the vehicle, carrying with it the fine dust of forgotten things. The landscape outside blurs, a canvas of saguaro skeletons and endless, undulating sand, mirroring the starkness of your purpose. You clutch the chip, a fragile beacon against the encroaching vastness, knowing its delivery is paramount, its exposure unavoidable. Floodlights cut harsh lines across the compound, illuminating the razor wire and the stoic figures patrolling its perimeter. You step from the vehicle, the crunch of gravel beneath your boots a stark punctuation mark in the quiet night. The weight of the chip in your pocket feels like a burning coal, demanding release. Inside, the fluorescent hum of the main office assaults your senses. A lone, weary-eyed agent, his uniform pressed despite the late hour, looks up from a stack of forms. His gaze, initially indifferent, sharpens as he recognizes the grim set of your jaw, the unyielding purpose in your eyes. You offer no pleasantries, no preamble. The time for niceties has long passed. I have something, you state, your voice raspy from the desert air and the emotional toll of the preceding hours. Something that needs to go straight to the highest echelons of federal justice. No detours. No delays. You place the chip on the scarred laminate counter. The agent eyes it with a mixture of suspicion and growing intrigue. He is a man of protocols, of procedure, but the intensity radiating from you seems to bypass his usual defenses. He picks it up, turning it over in his calloused fingers, a tiny, innocuous object holding such destructive power. What is this? He asks, his voice low, a tremor of curiosity underlying his professional calm. The truth, you reply, your gaze unwavering. The truth about the journalist's murder. The truth about a prominent politician's presidential campaign. The truth about the organization that orchestrated it all. The agent's eyes widen, a flicker of comprehension dawning. He makes a call, his voice hushed, urgent. You watch him, the silent sentinel of a truth finally unearthed, as the machinery of justice, slow and often cumbersome, begins to grind into motion. Hours bleed into one another, marked only by the arrival of a federal investigator, a woman with sharp, intelligent eyes and an air of quiet authority. She listens to your concise, unembellished account, her gaze never leaving yours, absorbing every detail, every nuance of your harrowing journey. The chip is analyzed, its contents projected onto a secure screen. The names, the dates, the encrypted communications unfurl like a poisoned scroll. The investigator's face, initially skeptical, hardens into an expression of grim determination. The intricate web of corruption, once a phantom whispered in the dark, now takes tangible form. The politicians' carefully constructed image shatters, their campaign dissolving into a maelstrom of scandal. A quiet satisfaction settles over you, a calm that has eluded you for years. The ghosts of your past, the haunting echo of the journalist's final moments, begin to recede. You see their face, not in the agony of death, but in the vindication of their life's work, finally brought to light. The burden of guilt, the gnawing regret of your initial failure, lifts, replaced by a fragile, hard-won peace. The badge, stripped from you years ago, remains an artifact of a former life. Yet, as you stand in the stark light of the border patrol station, watching the first blush of dawn paint the desert sky in hues of rose and gold, you feel a profound sense of purpose renewed. The federal investigator approaches you, his expression a mix of awe and respect. You've done something extraordinary, Marcus Thorne, he says, his voice low. Something that will reverberate for years to come. You nod, a quiet acceptance. The path ahead is uncertain, a vast, uncharted desert stretching before you. There is no clear destination, no predefined role. But for the first time in a long time, the weight of the past no longer anchors you. The fight for justice is never truly over, but for now, you have played your part. And that, you realize, is enough.